In a city where concrete pulses with the ceaseless hum of life, horns blending into distant chatter and neon reflections dancing on rain-slicked sidewalks, a figure of quiet resilience has made her temporary home on a cold metal bench. Angela has occupied that worn seat for countless days, a silent sentinel on a street corner just across from a bustling cafe, its air always redolent of roasted beans that never quite warm her. A battered fast food cup, its faded colors and rattling coins, marks her solitary meal, while hurried passers-by steal only a fleeting glance before vanishing into the tide of daily life. Once, Angela fought for her country as a Marine, a warrior forged in discipline and grit, but now each day is a battle for survival. Her calloused hands grip the straps of an old military backpack that cradles everything she owns, a threadbare blanket, a sweat-stained tee, and a few salvaged canned goods from a shelter. The concrete's unforgiving embrace leaves its mark on her weary legs, and even in early spring, a stubborn chill seeps through her layers, as if to remind her that comfort remains a distant dream. Meanwhile, across the street, laughter and lattes spill freely, a world where warmth is both taken for granted and never shared. Then, as if scripted by destiny itself, a sleek ebony luxury sedan glides to a stop. Its presence is as surreal as a scene from a high-end magazine, a vehicle so immaculate it seems to defy the grit of the urban sprawl. The tinted window lowers just enough for a hushed exchange between driver and passenger, and the door opens with a quiet promise of change. Out steps a tall man in a perfectly tailored charcoal suit, his crisp white shirt and an opulent watch that hints at fortunes beyond measure. There's something both regal and mysterious in his bearing, a familiarity that tugs at the fringes of Angela's memory, as if she's seen his face in passing headlines or gleaming billboards. Without the expected pity or a hasty nod, he strides purposefully toward her and settles on the bench beside her, his hands resting lightly on his knees. For long moments, silence stretches between them, a silence heavy with unspoken truths and guarded histories. Angela's eyes narrow, half expecting a rehearsed lecture or a patronizing comment that would reduce her to a mere prop in his philanthropic narrative. Instead, he speaks softly, matter-of-factly, "You served in the military." Startled by his unadorned observation, she arches an eyebrow. "What makes you say that?" he replies with a subtle gesture toward the time-worn backpack and the straight-back posture that speaks of hard-won discipline. With a resigned sigh, she murmurs, "Marine Corps." His nod is knowing, as if her every line and scar is an open book to him, details that most overlook on their hurried journeys through life. Angela's mind churns with the question, why would a man of his stature pause here, on a freezing bench, when he could easily be whisked away by his private jet? Her fingers tighten around the worn straps of her backpack, a silent plea for explanation, as she finally challenges him, "So, are you just going to sit here in silence, or are you going to tell me why you're here?" He leans back, his voice gentle yet firm, "I saw you." His words carry a weight that is neither pity nor a calculated act for the cameras. Angela scoffs, "Many see her, few truly see her." "Everyone passes by," she replies bitterly, "but they don't really look." He shakes his head, a quiet intensity glimmering in his eyes. "I saw someone who survived hell and still stands here." For the first time in what feels like an eternity, Angela studies his face, a face that, beneath the polished veneer, carries the invisible burden of loss. Tentatively, she probes, "You a veteran too?" He offers a small, rueful shake of his head. "No, but my father served 2 tours. I watched him crumble when he returned, lost in his own battles." The admission hangs between them, a delicate thread connecting 2 lives that have known both honor and heartbreak. Angela's hardened gaze softens, if only imperceptibly, as she realizes someone has finally seen beyond the surface of her struggle. The man introduces himself, his name, a soft murmur that seems to echo with memories and unspoken promises. "I'm Elliot," he says, a wry chuckle punctuating his surprise at their unlikely meeting. Angela's eyes flash with skepticism as she retorts, "And what is a man like you doing on a cold bench with someone like me?" His response is unruffled. "Perhaps I needed a reminder that money isn't the answer to everything," he admits, his tone both candid and challenging. Angela's stomach clenches with a mix of hunger and disbelief. "Tell that to my empty stomach," she snaps, her voice edged with years of neglect. Elliot's eyes crinkle with a hint of a smile as he inquires, "When did you last have a real meal?" She shrugs, recounting a meager sandwich handed to her without thanks. In that brief moment, the space between them shifts, no longer just a meeting of 2 unlikely souls but a crossroads where past wounds might begin to heal. "Come with me," Elliot invites quietly, "let's find you something warm to eat." Angela hesitates, her inner caution warring with a desperate need to be seen as more than just a shadow on the pavement. I don't trust well-dressed men offering favors, she warns, her tone guarded yet laced with a spark of hope. This isn't a favor, he insists, it's a conversation, and maybe you need more than you realize. They rise together, and for the first time in a long while, Angela walks alongside someone who sees her, really sees her, as the city's pulse swirls around them. Side by side, they navigate the busy sidewalks, where people scatter like leaves in the wind, each absorbed in their own world, while Angela can't help but wonder what a billionaire like him truly wants. The answer, however, remains shrouded in mystery as they turn into a quiet street lined with modest eateries. They stop before a humble restaurant that radiates warmth and authenticity, a stark contrast to the glimmer of high society outside. Inside, the aroma of roasted meats and freshly baked bread envelopes them in a comforting embrace that Angela hasn't felt in years. A wary waiter approaches, his smile faltering when he sees her weathered attire, yet Elliot gestures to a secluded booth in the back with a quiet authority. In that intimate corner, amidst crisp napkins and shining silverware, they settle into a tentative silence that speaks louder than words. After a few moments, Angela breaks the quiet. You're going to tell me why you're really here, aren't you? Elliot leans forward, elbows resting lightly on the table, his eyes steady. Have you ever wondered how you ended up here? He asks softly, the question hanging in the air like a fragile secret. Angela stiffens. You mean my homelessness, or all the events that led me to this? She asks, her voice barely above a whisper. She exhales slowly. I don't like to dwell on it. Thinking about it changes nothing. But Elliot's tone is insistent. It matters, Angela. Your story matters. She scoffs. To whom? And he explains, my father returned from war broken, a man lost to despair, drowning in his own regrets. I saw what it did to him, and I know what it's like to watch someone fade away into the cracks of a system that doesn't care. Angela's eyes glisten with memories she's long tried to forget, a time when the scars of battle were not just physical but etched deep within her soul. For a fleeting moment, she dares to believe that someone might understand her silent struggle. You stopped because I remind you of him, she finally asks, testing his sincerity. Elliot exhales slowly, his gaze steady. Or maybe I'm tired of walking past without a second thought. I refuse to ignore someone who deserves to be seen. The raw honesty in his words stirs something in Angela, a mingling of hope and guarded caution. Their conversation shifts as the waiter brings their meals, a hearty steak, creamy mashed potatoes, and a slice of pie that glows with a promise of sweetness after bitterness. Over their shared meal, Angela challenges him further, assume I believe you. What now? What happens next? Elliot's smile is enigmatic as he replies, that depends entirely on you. Angela chews slowly, savoring both the food and the gravity of his proposition. What do you mean? She asks, setting down her fork with a trembling finality. Leaning in, Elliot confides in a lowered tone, I want to help you, not just for tonight, not just with a meal, but for good. I want to give you a real opportunity. Angela's eyes narrow. You want to save me, is that it? He shakes his head. No, I'm offering you a chance to join me. I run several ventures, businesses, foundations, programs. I want to offer you a steady position, a way to rebuild your life. Angela scoffs, disbelief lacing her voice, you hardly know me. But his reply is soft and firm, I know enough. I know you're not here out of choice or laziness, you're here because life knocked you down, and you survived when others wouldn't. You're more than what the world sees. The conversation is interrupted by the sudden burst of a camera flash, a moment caught in time that neither of them could have anticipated. By morning, the digital realm explodes with headlines. Billionaire Elliot spotted dining with homeless veteran, a modern miracle or PR stunt. Social media erupts in fierce debate, with some heralding him as a hero of compassion while others dismiss the encounter as a carefully orchestrated spectacle. That same morning, Angela awakens in a modest shelter to a barrage of reporters outside, their questions lancing through the quiet. Angela, what exactly did Elliot offer you? Is this just for show? Overwhelmed, she tugs her hood tighter, desperate to escape the glare of intrusive lenses. The sudden spotlight, unwanted and harsh, transforms her private struggle into a public spectacle, a reminder that even moments of genuine kindness can become fodder for controversy. Later, as dusk settles and Angela finds herself once more on that familiar bench, she clutches the sleek business card Elliot left behind. In her trembling fingers lies a choice: discard it and slip back into oblivion, or dare to call and step into a future she's never dared to imagine. The world around her teems with indifferent strangers, now aware of her existence, now debating her worth. But is being seen truly a gift, or just another weight upon her fragile shoulders? Angela turns the card over, feeling its weight as if it were an anchor and a lifeline at once. Determined to uncover more, Angela retreats to the quiet sanctuary of a public library the following morning. There, she pores over digital archives in search of answers about Elliot, a man whose wealth was known to all but whose heart remained an enigma. What she finds stops her cold. His father, Daniel, a U.S. Army veteran who had served 2 grueling tours in Iraq, died in a VA hospital a decade ago. Angela's hand grips the edge of the desk as memories rush in from long-forgotten support groups, dim rooms filled with the soft murmur of shared grief and resilience. Daniel's quiet dignity, marred by the relentless weight of war, had been a presence in those meetings, a gentle soul who, even in defeat, inspired hope. She recalls the last time she saw him, displaced, apologetic for his own existence, and then gone, leaving a void too vast to fill. The pieces align in a painful mosaic that makes her stomach churn. This was no random act of charity. Elliot had not paused on the street merely out of fleeting compassion. He had stopped because she mirrored a man whose memory still haunted him, a reminder of a father he never fully let go of. As Angela logs off and steps back into the chill morning air, the revelation settles in like frost on her skin: she was never invisible to him. In her, he saw a piece of a past he needed to mend. With a heavy sigh, she studies the business card again, its sleek surface promising both mystery and salvation. Perhaps it was time for answers. That very afternoon, with resolve born of both desperation and a sliver of hope, Angela dials the number on the card. A crisp, professional voice answers from an office that seems worlds away. "Mr. Baines's office," the voice states. Clearing her throat, Angela speaks firmly, "This is Angela, I'm sure he'll know who I am." After a tense pause, the voice of Elliot comes through softly, "I was hoping you'd call." His words, measured and sincere, make Angela's heart pound as he continues, "I know who your father was, I assumed you'd see the connection." She presses, "Why didn't you just tell me?" His response is calm, unwavering, "Because I never wanted you to feel like a charity case. I didn't stop for you out of guilt or pity, I stopped because I couldn't bear to ignore someone as real as you." For a long moment, Angela can only listen, absorbing the sincerity in his tone. Then he adds, "Come to my office. Let's speak without the glare of cameras, without the noise of the world, just you and me." Despite her lingering doubts, Angela feels that perhaps, for the first time, trusting someone might not be a mistake. This isn't about empty charity, it's about building something real. Later that day, Angela finds herself standing before a towering glass building, its gleaming facade a stark reminder of a world that once felt utterly unattainable. The city around her thrums with life, honking cars, overlapping conversations, and the constant murmur of urban existence, yet her heart beats in its own quiet rhythm. Clutching her battered backpack as if it holds her entire story, she pauses at the pristine lobby with its polished marble floors and sleek furnishings, a place where she'd never imagined she belonged. The receptionist's startled eyes meet hers, but before any judgment can be passed, Elliot appears from a corridor. "Angela," he says in a tone that mingles neutrality with relief, "please, come in." Following him through grand glass doors, Angela enters an office bathed in natural light from floor-to-ceiling windows that frame the sprawling city, a modern panorama of possibility. Standing before him, she challenges, "All right, Elliot, no cameras, no press. Just us. So, tell me honestly, what do you really want from me?" Leaning casually against the sleek desk, he meets her gaze with unwavering sincerity. "I mean exactly what I said," he confides. "I want to help you, but only if you want it." Angela scoffs lightly, "Help me how? By handing me a hotel room for a few nights?" Shaking his head, Elliot replies, "No. I want to offer you a genuine opportunity, a job that can rebuild your life." Her eyes widen in disbelief. "You really think I can slip into a corporate world?" He continues calmly, "I'm not interested in pity. I'm proposing a partnership. I run several ventures, businesses, foundations, programs, and I'm launching an initiative to support veterans like my late father, veterans who never received the support they deserved. I need people who fought real battles, both on the field and in life." Angela's heart thumps as the realization sinks in. This isn't a handout, it's a chance to reclaim dignity. "Why me?" she whispers, her voice trembling with a mix of hope and caution. Elliot exhales, "Because I've passed by too many people like you without doing anything. I refuse to be complicit any longer." Sliding a sleek business card across the table, he adds, "You need not decide immediately, but if you're ready to choose a new path, this door is always open." Angela turns the card over in her fingers, each etched letter a promise of a future that feels almost too good to be true. Then, as if fate decided to upend the fragile piece of their moment, a sudden camera flash disrupts the intimacy. By the next morning, digital headlines scream, "Billionaire Elliot spotted dining with homeless veteran, heroism or hoax?" Social media erupts with praise and scorn in equal measure. Reporters soon swarm the modest shelter where Angela had spent the night, their questions sharp as arrows. "Angela, what exactly did Elliot offer you? Is this merely for publicity? Are you accepting his help?" The barrage is relentless, and as she pulls her hood up in a desperate bid for anonymity, the cameras persist, turning her struggle into a public spectacle. Later, back on that same cold bench where her story began, Angela clutches the business card as if it were the weight of her entire world. In her mind, the choice is stark, to discard it and retreat into invisibility, or to dial the number and step toward a future she never dared dream of. The bustling street passes her by, indifferent, yet now aware of her existence. But is being noticed truly a blessing, or just another burden to bear? Angela turns the card over, its presence a silent testament to the possibility of change, even as her heart trembles with uncertainty. That evening, the quiet hum of a public library offers Angela a refuge. There, huddled before a computer, she searches for details about Elliot, hoping to understand the man who had disrupted her life. Although she'd long known of his immense wealth, what she finds is shattering. His father, Daniel, a U.S. Army veteran who served 2 arduous tours in Iraq, had died in a VA hospital 10 years ago. Her hand grips the desk as memories resurface, the hushed gatherings of a VA support group, dimly lit rooms where veterans shared their sorrows, and the gentle presence of a man whose eyes still carried the ghost of battle. She remembers Daniel as quiet and polite, a soul weighed down by invisible scars. The final time she saw him, he had lost his apartment, insisting he didn't want to burden anyone, and then, heartbreakingly, he was gone. As old articles piece together his tragic story, Angela's pulse races and a nauseating truth takes hold. Elliot's act of kindness was not a whim, it was driven by a connection to a past he could not forget. Her hands tremble as she logs off, stepping out into the sharp morning air where the chill seems to whisper of new beginnings. In that moment, the realization is undeniable. She was not just another homeless face to be dismissed. To Elliot, she was a reminder of a man he longed to honor, a fragment of a lost past that deserved to be seen. Angela exhales slowly, eyes fixed on the business card in her palm. Perhaps it was finally time to seek the answers that had haunted her for so long. That afternoon, summoning every ounce of courage, Angela makes the call. A measured, professional voice answers, "Mr. Baines's office." With a steadiness that belies her inner turmoil, she says, "This is Angela, I'm sure he'll recognize me." A pause ensues, and then, "Hold, please." Moments later, Elliot's voice flows through the line, "I was hoping you'd call." Angela's grip on the phone tightens as he continues, "I know who your father was, I assumed you'd see the connection." In a hushed tone, she asks, "Why didn't you just tell me?" His reply is even, "Because I never wanted you to feel like a charity case. I didn't stop because I felt guilty, I stopped because I knew what it was like to be unseen. I couldn't keep walking past you." Angela closes her eyes, the weight of his words sinking in. "Come to my office. Let's talk properly, no cameras, no press, just you and me." Though hesitant, she senses this time might be different. This isn't about empty promises but about a real chance at change. Later, under a sky painted with the muted hues of dusk, Angela stands before a towering glass building that seems to promise a new beginning. The urban orchestra of honking horns and murmuring crowds fades into the background as she clutches her battered backpack close, a silent repository of all she has ever known. With a deep, steadying breath, she steps through the pristine lobby, its marble floors and modern decor a far cry from the life she's led on the streets. The receptionist's startled eyes are quickly overtaken by the presence of Elliot, who appears from the corridor with a gentle nod. "Angela," he says softly, the relief in his voice palpable, "please, come with me." Following him through grand glass doors, Angela enters an office bathed in natural light from expansive windows that frame the sprawling cityscape, a living panorama of promise and possibility. Standing before him, she challenges, "All right, Elliot, no cameras, no press. Just us. So, what do you really want from me?" Leaning casually against the sleek desk, his gaze never wavering, he replies, "I mean exactly what I said. I want to help you, but only if you're willing to take a chance." Angela's laugh is tinged with disbelief. "Help me how? By throwing money at me and booking a hotel room?" He shakes his head gently. "No. I'm offering you a real opportunity, a role. I manage several ventures and I'm launching a program to support veterans like my late father. I need someone who understands hardship, someone who's truly been through it all." Her eyes widen as the gravity of his proposal sinks in. "So, this isn't just pity, it's a chance to rebuild?" Elliot nods. "Precisely. I wouldn't have stepped in if I didn't truly believe in you. I've seen too many pass by without even a glance. I won't be that man anymore." Memories of lost jobs, empty nights, and shattered dreams swirl in Angela's mind as Elliot slides a sleek business card toward her. "You don't have to decide now, but if you're ready for a fresh start, this door is open." With trembling fingers, she pockets the card, a tangible promise of a future she never thought possible. Yet fate has one more twist in store. A stray flash from a bystander's camera catches them off guard, and by morning, digital headlines scream, "Billionaire Elliot spotted dining with homeless veteran, hero or hoax?" Social media divides in a frenzy of praise and skepticism, and soon, reporters descend upon the shelter where Angela had spent the night. "Angela, what exactly did Elliot offer you? Is this just for publicity?" they demand. The relentless barrage leaves her no choice but to pull her hood up, desperate to vanish, though the cameras remain unyielding, transforming her private struggle into a public spectacle. Later that day, back on the familiar cold bench, Angela cradles the business card in her hand. In that silent moment, she contemplates the enormity of the choice before her, to discard it and slip back into obscurity, or to call the number and seize the chance to reclaim her life. The city continues its indifferent march, its people now aware of her presence, but is that truly a blessing? As she turns the card over, the weight of her decision presses upon her, an echo of all the years spent unseen. If this tale has stirred something within you, consider reaching out to support those who have been forgotten. Whether it's through volunteering at local shelters, advocating for veteran support programs, or simply pausing to acknowledge the silent struggles of those around you, every act of kindness matters. And if you believe, as we do, in the transformative power of second chances, join our community. Because everyone, without exception, deserves to be seen.